Hey guys, what's up? This is Brian with Games Under Pressure, and today I'm going to be taking a look at a game that I am absolutely in love with, and that game is Grow Home. Now, I'm a little bit late to the party here. This game came out a little while ago, I believe late January, and it was sort of under the radar, and Ubisoft put this out, and they just sort of didn't tell anybody that they were going to put it out until a few days before, and then they surprised everybody with it. And you can get this right now. It's available on PC. And it is just a phenomenal game. So I want to show you what this is all about. And basically the main protagonist in this game is a little robot called Bud. And Bud is a little bit strange in how he behaves. So as you can see, when he's walking here, he's a little bit unsteady. And the game has the closest the closest game I could compare it to, the closest experiences, like in Mario, when you try to stop and you're on ice and you kind of slide a little bit, there is an inconsistency to Bud's movements, which is really interesting. So it makes you have to be a little bit more careful, a little bit more deliberate in how you move. And you can see now that I'm climbing, and you climb, by the way, you really got to use a controller on this game, but you climb using the right and left triggers. So the left trigger controls one hand, and the right trigger controls another. And the game is very vertically oriented, and you'll sort of see the point in a few minutes here, but there are scattered throughout this world a number of different crystals. You have to collect these crystals, and then the crystals give you new powers. This right here is it's called a fall flower, and what you can do is, as you can see, you press Y when you're in the air, and you can use the flower to sort of glide. Now, if you're in a free fall and you reach a terminal velocity, if you hit the ground, you die. So the fall flower allows you to very quickly go from the top of the level to the bottom of the level without the fear of falling to your death. So it's pretty interesting. The crystals are scattered all around, and if you pick up, you can see the top here, it says 10, and it goes all the way up to 100%. If you get 10% of the crystals or 20% of the crystals, or whatever the requirement is, you unlock different abilities. So Bud will unlock a jetpack, and he'll unlock some other things that I'll show you in a few minutes here, like the camera. You have the ability to zoom in and out. And overall, the game is just bursting with personality, and it's a very attractive game, as you can see here. It uses this sort of voxel approach to everything, and right now, in the area that I'm in, it just sort of looks okay, right? It doesn't look spectacular, but when you start seeing the scope of this game, it really becomes clear why this look is so special. Here we're getting into really the crux of the game, the core gameplay mechanic. You use, like I just showed you, there are these floating islands all around the level, and the floating islands contain this energy that you need to use to grow the plant, and the goal is to grow the plant high enough to get back to your ship, which is very, 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 very high up in the sky. And you can see at the beginning of the game, that's the ship that I jumped from. So the goal is to get back to that ship, and to not just get back up to that ship, but to grow the plant all the way up to that ship. So like I mentioned earlier, the mechanics are very vertically oriented. So you have to use those stalks and the flowers. Here's another example. You need to use this stalk to grow it into these energy islands. Once, you can see it says 1 out of 4 on the left-hand side of the screen there. Once you get 4 of these islands, the main plant will grow, and it'll grow up to the next level, which is, every area is a little bit different. You can see, I think I'm going to go through about 2 levels in this video, and I'm not focused necessarily on collecting all the crystals, although, you know, if this one's right here, I'll pick it up. I'm not focused on the crystals because you need a lot of them to get some of the more interesting features. So I want to show you really the core mechanics of this game, the time that I have, and not necessarily focus on crystal collecting. But there are 100 crystals scattered throughout the level. when you're doing this part of the game, growing these stalks, you can control them in whatever way you want. So I'm controlling this, and it's not super precise. Sometimes the stalks get a little bit crazy, or they want to loop or turn, or so you have to stabilize them and keep them going to a specific point. And again, I'll collect some of these crystals here just because they're here and they're convenient. And if I get 2 more, I'll be able to show you some new camera controls you get. If you land on a leaf, you can bounce just like that. And that allows for some very fast traversal. This is a teleporter. And what you do whenever you find one of these is you pull down the little feet here. And that way, if you get to a new level, I'm at a new level right now, and say I fall off, because it's pretty easy to miss a ledge or to have Bud, like I mentioned earlier, you know, he's not super graceful when he's walking, and when you can very, very, very easily sort of stumble off a ledge and not be able to grab on in time, or if you don't have a fall flower on you, whatever the case is, it's pretty easy to fall very, very long distances in this game. So those teleporters allow you at any time to navigate different levels of this game, which is really useful. And like I mentioned earlier with the stocks sort of getting a mind of their own and going their own way, this is one of them that I'm having a little bit of a hard time controlling. You can see I'm sort of inverted, and I didn't mean to be. And on all of these stocks, when you're growing them, you'll see that this one, I didn't have enough energy to get all the way to that island in the distance that I'm going for. So what I'm going to do now is look for another stalk, another little bud there, and there it is. And I'm going to grow this to that island. And this one's wanting to snake a little bit as well. And if the island was a little bit too far away, I just go back and I look for another one of those little flower buds, and I can grow that too. Now you can see the plant growing because I hit 4 of those islands. The plant has enough energy to bust through here. And now you can use the plant to get up to the next level. Let's see if there's anything interesting here. No. And like I've said, I beat this game already. I had an absolute blast with it. I'm making this look a little bit more, a little bit easier than it actually is. It did take me a while to get the hang of this because it's almost, I don't want to say that it's the same as playing something like Octodad, because Octodad is much, much, much more difficult to control, and you don't have as precise of movements with that. But it's sort of the same thing in some ways. You really have to be careful and deliberate in your actions, because if you just stumble a little bit, man, you can fall right off the side of the course. And I actually think I'm taking the long way here. There's probably a better way to get up this. But the red and the blue icons there under his little robot hands, that shows you where you would grab. So you can use the triggers pretty harmoniously if you get going. Like you can see I'm really moving here. You can use the triggers harmoniously to climb very, very quickly. And this is a very, very gorgeous part of the level. So you'll get to see now sort of the scope of the game and why this voxel look is so, so cool. If I could ever get up here. Almost there. And here you go. Check this out. Look just the scope of that. Very, very cool. If I could jump up here. Bud cannot go in water. So if you you can go for a little dip, but if you spend any amount of time in there, you die very, very easily. And I just love the animation. I mean, just look at, he's like stumbling all around, and he's just the cutest damn robot ever. So we'll get this teleporter, just in case I fall. And since the game has come out, they've released a number of different skins for Bud. So I believe there's like a Day of the Dead skin, turns him into little I don't know what you'd call him, like a little wrestler. You can also get, I believe there's a plum skin. There's a skin to make him blue. And I want to say a skin to make him yellow, which is very adorable. Even though Bud doesn't do a lot of different, you know, he doesn't really do anything, doesn't say anything. He's brimming with personality. And I think this is a good lesson for other developers, that you can have sort of a compelling story. And it's not a hugely compelling story, but you can have an interesting story with a character that is lovable and fun, and you can accomplish that just through design. So here is another one of the first features that I got, one of the first upgrades that I got from getting 10 crystals, the ability to move the camera out. And again, look at that scale. And this game is running without a hitch. Just absolutely gorgeous. If you have a computer that's capable of running it and a TV or monitor that's capable of displaying it, definitely play this game in 4K. It is absolutely gorgeous. When I first saw it, I wasn't totally sure of the graphical style, but in motion, I gotta say, it really grows on you. Get another little crystal. There is a dynamic day and night cycle. You can see that it's getting a little bit darker. It doesn't, in my experience, and maybe I just haven't gotten, you know, I haven't explored enough or whatever, it doesn't seem to impact anything. It's more aesthetic. I haven't checked to see if like certain creatures come out at night or anything like that, but just in terms of the core mechanics of the game, it seems largely aesthetic. As you get higher and you get closer to the top, the islands that are filled with the energy start to spread out a little bit. So they become actually like a little bit more difficult to find. When I was playing through this game the first time, there was an island that I just, for the life of me, could not find, and it turns out I missed it at the a little bit lower down. So it'll come back and bite you if you don't get all the islands the first time through. I mean, just like look how he struggles, you know, with those stupid little crystals. There's so much personality. And I gotta say, the game has a quality that I really wasn't expecting. It's a budget game, and it's not just like a budget game, it's a real budget game. Full price is, I think, $7.99. So for a game to look as good as this does, to be as well optimized as this is, it's super impressive. And with Ubisoft putting out all these games that frankly are not up to snuff from a storytelling perspective, from a core mechanics perspective, from a technical perspective, games like Assassin's Creed Unity or The Crew, or I mean, you name it. It's pretty incredible that a game that is this fun and this unique and this imaginative they don't even really promote it. It just sort of flies under the radar. I don't know if this was a case of them just not knowing what they had in Grow Home. But if that's the case, it's really, really sad, because just from a conceptual standpoint, just from an aesthetic standpoint, this game really, really, really stands out above the crowd. And it, oh man, so close, look at that. And it's sad to think that maybe they didn't even understand that they had something wholly unique. And yeah, just look at that scale with the islands in the sky and the energy rippling through the vines. Very, very cool looking. Let's jump on another one here. Grow this one to a different island. This one's a little bit further away. And then I'll just get to the next section. I got 2 more to go here. I'll get to the next section, just to show that off, because it is pretty cool. Gonna need 1 more to get over there. Oh, there we go. And there is a sense of dread, and it seems very perilous and tenuous when you're climbing on these vines, because he is so unsteady that you have to be very, very, very careful in your movements if you want to get to where you're going. And it becomes like weirdly second nature after a while. Like this playthrough, I'm not even necessarily concerned about it. I'm just sort of going through, having fun, taking risks. The color palette reminds me a little bit of Wind Waker on the GameCube and on the Wii U. It seems like that pastel color palette mixed with the really vibrant colors in places, so you get that really cool separation between the plant and then the rest of the sky. Let's get a fall flower here. And you have that neat little handy meter on the back of his backpack there that gives you just how much of a fall flower you have left. He sort of looks like a fish flopping around, doesn't he? Like he's drunk. The pedals right here are super nice for getting places very quickly. Every once in a while you'll get to sort of a tricky ledge like this, and trying to get over it is tough. Typically you can use a jump and get over it, but every once in a while you'll just encounter something that's a little bit tricky. Look at the little butterfly. I mean, man, the touches in this game are so good. Just the small little touches. But definitely play this game with a controller. When you start up the game, they're even like, hey, don't use a keyboard and mouse for this. It's not that great. Here's the third area. You get some really cool plant life here. And I'm going to show you something here. Here's a little cave that's very interesting. And There are little caves like this and little alcoves like this scattered throughout the entire game. Just little areas, little hidden areas that you have to find to get some of these crystals. And in these caves are some really interesting flora and fauna as well. So you can see there's a bull right there. And it doesn't happen in this playthrough, but in another playthrough, when when it saw me, it sort of rushed me, and if it touches you, you burst into a million little pieces. I just love the way he runs. It's so cute. So this is the only area that I really had the game dip in terms of frame rate. I'm running 3 Nvidia 980s currently. So, and this is the only area where I really sort of stressed the cards and I got less than 60 frames a second. But otherwise, this game is just gorgeous. So that's where I'm going to leave it. Overall, I'm absolutely in love with this game, like I mentioned. At $7.99, it is a bargain. It is my surprise of the year. Definitely check it out if you're just looking for something that's a little bit different. And in this day and age, there aren't enough different games like this. So definitely give Ubisoft your money to show them that you like innovation and you like something that isn't The Crew, right? So it has my highest recommendation. Definitely check it out. And if you like videos like this, especially if you like 4K videos, gameplay in 4K, please subscribe to my channel. It's going to allow me to keep bringing you videos like this. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching.